Let's be honest, if Bo Nix was healthy, New England's probably not here.
Yep. And I don't know why it took people so long to say that. People were so afraid to say that. And I get it. It was one of the first lessons I learned making videos where I made a statement where I was like, this was more about, this team losing than this team winning. And I got an army of comments of people like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Give us credit for the win. Give us credit. And it's like, whoa. And I was like, I didn't realize that that was such a sensitive take to have. And this is why I always talk about being consistent, unbiased, etc. I don't just keep saying that just for the sake of saying it or just to keep being like, look how cool I am. I'm so unbiased and consistent. It's to hold myself accountable. You got to keep saying it out loud. You got to keep saying, got to be consistent. Got to be consistent. Got to be consistent. It also allows you to point out some of the times or to have other people point out the times that you aren't being consistent. But it's like when you are consistent, it allows you to stick to the truth more, to not cook the books, to not manipulate the narrative. And the Denver Broncos with Bo Nix with this man right here. I'm going to end up picking the wrong image, I think. Let's see if I can do it right the first time. No, I did it right. This guy right there. To think that they would have not been better with Bo Nix in the AFC Championship game is just insane. It's just insane. And although I do think the Broncos could have put up a better fight, I'm not so sure that they would have won. I don't think they probably would have won. And that's why I'm talking about being consistent, like I just think that the Seattle Seahawks, I just think that this was their year. I think the game could have been a lot closer. I think Bo Nix is more resilient. Bo Nix can do a little bit more with his legs. Bo Nix has shown so far to be a big game player in a way that Drake May hasn't. I don't know if Drake May has really been given the opportunity quite yet, but I think Bo Nix, in both his playoff games, both games against the Buffalo Bills, has proven and shown his ability to rise to the occasion, to elevate in the big moments in the playoffs. He did that, yes, even as a rookie on the road against the Buffalo Bills. Colin went on a whole rant, a little bit earlier where he's like, don't give me the analytics, which is like, funny because he uses it all the time. But like, Bo Nix was awesome even in that first playoff game, despite what any of the bottom line stats show. And he was spectacular against the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round. And so, it's not a big reach to say, well, I think he could have elevated in the Super Bowl, and you have Sean Payton there, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think it's fair to automatically say we would have won the Super Bowl if Bo Nix was there. That's too far. Like, that's too much of a stretch for me, but it's not too much of a stretch to believe that the Broncos would have beaten the Patriots with Bo Nix. Heck, they should have done it with Jared Stum. And that's not knocking the Patriots. And it's not revisionist history because I said it right away. I said it as soon as the postgame happened. And Patriots fans got mad at me, and I'm like, I'm not knocking the Patriots, man. I'm not. But you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent. And so it's just funny how unwilling people were willing to say that throughout the course of all of this coverage after the game, after the Broncos-Patriots game, and then going into the Super Bowl. And I get it because from a media standpoint, you do just kind of have to stick to what's in front of you. You got to just talk about the Patriots. We're here to celebrate and elevate the Patriots. We're here to now praise endlessly Rabel, Drake May, etc., Robert Kraft. Like, that's what everybody was doing. And I get it. You got to focus on what's in front of you. You can't just keep lingering on the Broncos. Not to mention, the Broncos fans are watching a lot less. The Patriots fans are watching a lot more. So I get it. But that's why I wasn't letting go of the Broncos. That's why I made a whole bunch of other videos, and I made my one video where I said the Patriots are living the Broncos' life right now. I made that video. I mean, I just realized that right now, like that take coincides with what Colin said so perfectly. I had my whole take where I said everything they're saying about the Patriots right now in these 2 weeks, they should be saying about the Denver Broncos, and that they were robbed of that. Not someone took it away from them. It's just the football gods. They were just robbed of it. We were robbed of that as fans. And it's okay to say that out loud. It's okay to acknowledge that. doesn't downplay what the Patriots accomplished, doesn't downplay Drake May's season, doesn't downplay the greatness of Rebel and Josh McDaniels, etc., doesn't take away from any of that. But it's also okay to acknowledge, yeah, I think the two best teams in the NFL were the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks. That's what it should have been, 1 seed versus 1 seed in the Super Bowl. And I do maintain that I think the Seattle Seahawks would have won that Super Bowl. I do. I think at the end of the day, I think it could have been closer. It would have been an interesting game. They would have had to push differently, but the reality is that the game would have unfolded completely differently. Like that's the reality. There's just really no way to like predict how it, there's just no way. But I just believe that the Seahawks were a better team when push comes to shove. But it doesn't mean that the Broncos still wouldn't have found a way to win. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't have seen Bo Nix's greatness on full display. I have no idea. And that's the tragedy in it. That's what we were robbed of. Maybe Sam Darnold plays even better because we saw what Sam did in the NFC Championship game. He didn't have to do that in this game. Doesn't mean that he can't. It could have been Bo Nix and Sam Doolin, both quarterbacks, throwing for over 300 yards and whatnot. Both quarterbacks could have turned the ball over because they both would have had to have pushed so much more. That's the reality. We would have gotten a completely different Super Bowl. We just would have. But this is the Super Bowl that we got. And the Seahawks steamrolled the Patriots. That's simple. And I don't think it's enough, especially if you're a Broncos fan. I don't think it's enough to just have a little throwaway line where it's like, let's be honest, Bo Nix is healthy. The Patriots aren't here. It's like, that's not a throwaway line. That's an actual conversation. That's a conversation. But you got to be careful with that conversation because it's not always true. This is why I keep preaching consistency, because this is something that the 49ers tried to say in 22. Oh, if Drake May doesn't get injured, it's like, no, Drake May got injured because the Eagles defense was literally lighting you up. And that's why you were on Christian McCaffrey as a quarterback, because then your backup quarterback got lit up by the defense. That wasn't accidental. Not to mention the Philadelphia Eagles were an elite team that whole season, which is why in that Super Bowl they hung, 35 points against the Kansas. It's like they didn't get steamrolled by the Chiefs that year. So it's just like you can't, it's why you got to like take a second to just really kind of digest what you're seeing and what you're looking at. And that's why it was telling that game was close, even with Jared Stidham and the play calling. It's why I harped so much on the play calling, the decision making, and even someone who I really respect, Travis, who was like, dude, maybe it was the right play call. Sometimes you just got to give credit to the defense and whatnot. And I get that, and I appreciate that. He looks at it very much through a coaching perspective from like an X's and O's in that regard. And I look at it through that as well, but he, whole understand the X's and O's way better than me. And I look at it more from sometimes of like a management of the players in the games. And it's like, no, sometimes you got to take a step back and look at this from like the greater thing and be like, yeah, maybe technically it was the right decision. And if the defense of the Patriots didn't rise the occasion, you get that first down. And then who knows? But also you got to understand the situation as a whole. You got to understand how this game is unfolding. You got to understand that you got a backup quarterback. You got to understand that you got points right there. And with all of those mistakes and the game still being in the balance, you're like, okay, that is telling. That is information. That is data. That is further proof of how great the Broncos are. And we can say, don't hide behind the weather. Don't hide behind the weather. That's what I kept trying to emphasize as well. So, yeah. I think that's why the Broncos were so gutted, because then even I've made that other clip where like Nick was like making fun of, I think, what was it, Certain? I forget, where he was like, oh, sour grapes, because he said that the Seahawks were going to roll the Patriots and it sounds like sour grapes. And I was like, no, this is a team that truly knew that they were better, that they could have legitimately won a Super Bowl, or at the very least just competed for Super Bowl. Just getting to the Super Bowl is an honor and a lifetime accomplishment. Sometimes that's as good as it gets. You just get to the Super Bowl and that's it. And that's okay. Not everyone gets to be in first place. Not everyone. So Sometimes it's just getting there. You get to just say, for the rest of your life, I was in a Super Bowl. I made the Super Bowl. I think you get a ring if you just win the division, the conference. And sometimes that's as good as it gets, man. Sometimes that's as good as it gets. Not everyone gets to win 7 Super Bowls, okay? And the Broncos were robbed of that. And that is a heartbreaker. That is an absolute heartbreaker. It's not something that I'm going to keep talking about. It's not something that I'm going to keep harping about. I'll probably bring some of that energy when we're talking about, in March and April, and some of the decisions and some of the intensity and the revenge factor and some of the emotionalness of it. Especially because I know Nick Wright's going to be like, I don't know if they can bounce back. And the moment they lose a game, this coming season, I guess, now, right? Is it considered next season or this coming season? They'll be like, I just think they just can't bounce back from the loss, and it's like, sure, whatever. And so we'll talk about it there, but like, I think right now it's still a fair game to kind of drill down on it. Personally, I still find the conversation interesting, and I still think it's a real conversation. I think Colin could have a whole segment about it right now, but he didn't, and I'm happy he didn't because I just did. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Denver Broncos? That's right, I'm making Denver Broncos videos on Monday as my headphone's falling off. After the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's what we do here, man. That's what we do here. But let me know your thoughts. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much.